Can demons have children or not? How did Muzan have a daughter, since we saw in the Entertainment District arc Muzan with his daughter and wife? However, we've never seen a case of a demon who got pregnant or had children. So is that possible or not? Look, scientifically, Muzan is no longer human, even though he always has a similar appearance. However, he shows us his true form, or rather, his combat form, in the final arc during his battle against the demon slayers, where he modified his entire body, creating mouths all around his body and deadly tentacles on his back. He also shaped his hand into a whip made of flesh whenever he wanted. In other words, if demons can shape their own bodies, create limbs, mouths, and eyes, we can be sure that their bodies no longer function like those of ordinary humans. But what about Muzan's daughter? Is she human or a demon? Is she a human-demon hybrid? In other words, half human and half demon? I must say that she is purely human. Exactly. Notice that in the Entertainment District, as soon as Tanjiro saw Muzan with his wife and daughter, he realized that both Muzan's wife and the girl were human. The girl and the woman have the scent of humans. But how is that possible? Well, it's possible and very likely that this isn't really Muzan's daughter. But then, why does she call him Daddy? Daddy! Who is he? Daddy, we can find all the answers in the official Demon Slayer databook. As we know, Muzan takes on different forms, from a woman to a child if he wants to. And in the official databook, it's revealed to us that Muzan does this to obtain information that isn't made public. Muzan gets privileged information by disguising himself among the rich, politicians, and military. In addition, we're told that Muzan kills these important people and takes their place, assuming their form and appearance. Precisely because of this, it's possible to believe that Muzan killed this child's father and took his form in order to obtain information that would lead him somewhere. As already revealed by the author of Kimetsu, Muzan had 5 wives and certainly must have had other quote-unquote children with them. But what if these wives wanted to get intimate with Muzan? Obviously, to keep up appearances, he probably would. So would it be possible for him to give her his sperm? Well, since Muzan has complete control over his body and can shape it however he wants, it's obvious that he would choose not to do it, or at least he didn't want to. But what about the other demons, like Daki and Nakimi, 2 female demons who don't show any other forms? Before I tell you, take this moment to leave a big like on the video. It's important that you subscribe to this channel if you're new. If you don't do it, you'll have Muzan as your enemy. And trust me, you don't want to have him as your enemy. Hype up the video, it helps me a lot. Now observe, when we talk about demon anatomy, we're talking about demons in general, with the exception of Muzan, who is the original demon. We say that, in general, they are still a kind of human with their bodies modified. However, some end up having a grotesque appearance and many absurd modifications to their bodies. They can become so surprisingly unrecognizable that they don't look anything like they did when they were human. Most demons have their appearance only slightly modified based on their former human lives. As we can see, higher ranking demons like Akaza, Duma, Kokushibo, and even Hantengu closely resemble their human forms, with very few visual modifications. This is a very important point to note, because it's easy to imagine Daki getting pregnant. Whereas a demon like the hand demon isn't, but the hand demon isn't a woman. However, I wanted to use him as an example, because there must certainly be females who had the same fate in their transformations. However, nevertheless, Daki, as a demon in the Entertainment District, earns her hard-earned money doing tricks that could get her pregnant. Logically, Daki was in the Entertainment District to consume humans, but she still did her job to keep her money. And it's no surprise that the more you do these things, the higher your chances of getting pregnant. Especially considering it was a time when there were no contraceptives or so many protection methods. And women who worked in this type of establishment during periods like the Taisho era often ended up pregnant and ended up retiring or losing privileges as high-ranking courtesans. However, Daki always remained in the upper ranks as a courtesan. So, take a look. If the more you do it, the higher your chances are, then why didn't Daki get pregnant for over a century? And statistically, it's almost impossible not to have gotten pregnant in those situations. But the answer to that, however, is simple, though it can lead to some very interesting questions based on that answer. Notice that the demons, after acquiring Muzan's blood, go through many transformations, both in appearance and in their blood and overall body biology. They can create things from their own bodies and shape them as they wish. Since I'm talking about Daki, we can use her as an example. She can create sashes from her body and transmit her consciousness through them, even placing eyes and mouths on them if she wants. As has already been observed, it's quite logical to think that their bodies no longer function like those of ordinary humans. The reproductive system, which is something purely human, probably ceased to exist from the moment Muzan's blood rewrote their biology. That's why there are no reports of demons having children. But the case could also be the same as Muzan's. Because she has control over her body, she can biologically choose not to have children. So my final verdict is, drumroll please, demons can get pregnant, yes. However, they choose not to, certainly due to Muzan's orders. Since the Demon King controls all of them. But if a demon were really going to have children, what would that look like? Well, if a demon really decided to have a child, the most logical thing is that it would only happen among themselves. Demon with demon. After all, they are too proud to mix their lineage with that of humans, who are nothing more than food in their eyes. In this hypothetical scenario, they would be dealing with something completely new. A hybrid not from mixing a human with a demon, but from the union of two people. Two aberrations that no longer share human biological logic. But since Muzan is extremely proud, it's possible that he's afraid his offspring might get out of his control just like Tamayo or Nezuko did. Therefore, what remains is only the illusion. Daughters, wives, families, it's all nothing but carefully constructed masks by Muzan to blend in among humans. Demons may even look like humans. They can even live as if they were human. But deep down, they stopped being human a long time ago. And it's precisely this paradox that makes them even more terrifying. They resemble humans, but there's nothing human left in them. But what do you think? What would the children of demons be like? Leave your comment below. I'll see you in this video I picked out right here. I guarantee you'll like it. Don't forget to like this video and hype it up too. I'll see you there, Otaku!